Lausanne, always a place where you expect fantastic performances. Tonight we got some. Unfortunately, the star of the show was the weather, the biggest storyline. It was chilly, really tough conditions for athletes. We saw that impacting everybody, so much so that the pole vaulters, the high jumpers, they suffered the most. At one point in the long jump, you would have seen them basically clearing the board just to get water out. But still, these standout performance, there's a few. Keely Hutchinson, Cordell Tinch. We can get into some of that. But we have to start tonight with Oblique Seville. If you missed last night's live, Leighton Levy and I went live on both channels, on his channel, on mine. And stay tuned, we'll be probably going live on Friday night as well. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys again. He mentioned and he talked about he wouldn't be surprised if Oblique clocked a 9.6. Didn't clock a 9.6 tonight, but we'll unpack some of that in a second. And in my mind, I was like, I'm not sure about that. I'm really not sure about that. And, he has some information and, I won't share it, but that gave us some insights about what that Oblique was in really, really good condition. And the guy goes out there and he delivers what is a statement run in dangerous conditions. It's chilly. The only man to go sub 10. And let's unpack some of that. First of all, before we get into that, I'll put the results on the screen in a second. I want to thank everybody for coming onto the channel tonight, doing a recap of the Diamond League event today. But we'll talk about anything you want. I'm mostly track and field, and it's good to see a few people coming through. Chris was here early. I think he came on a little bit earlier, probably was saying it's still not very fast, but we can definitely unpack that. Gamblic Visualization says Oblique in 9.6 shape. I think he's in better form than Kishane. That's a talking point we should mention. We should spend some time there. Christina E1234, how are you? Oblique will clock 9.7 for the gold, for the World Championship gold. Lots of Oblique chatter tonight. A lot of people happy with that performance. And we can go through a lot of it. We have to break it down. First, let's get it up on the screen. And don't forget to like the video and, tell a friend. It's always good. So I want to get this on the screen. Not sure why for some reason my stage wasn't working. Sorry. So yeah, Oblique Seville. It's the last race of the evening, individual race. There was a 4x1 after. I'm not Kenyan at all. I'll tell you the story of the Kenyan jersey in a second. The last individual race, he goes out there and clocks 9.87 into a slight headwind, minus 0.3. And in very cold conditions, about 60 degrees, I believe, at the time. So it's not the ideal conditions for sprinting. And it was raining. On top of that, it was raining. So much so, you could be taking a shower out there. This is how it was all day. And so leading into that, you felt like the performances wouldn't have been great. But the athletes showed up. And the guy goes out there and what was it? Probably second fastest reaction time of the evening behind Akini Sembini, I believe. Akani Sembini had a 0.144. Reaction times, they're okay. It's not always the best thing to think through, but gets out of the block and powers his way through in rainy conditions like he had to catch a flight. And the rest just couldn't hang on. Noah Lyles got left in the blocks. He did some amount of work to get back into it, eventually getting that second spot ahead of Akeem Blake, both clocking 10.02, Lyles 0.014 to Blake's 0.016. Statement run. You look at the face of Noah Lyles, probably didn't realize what happened. A hurricane hit him in a way that he probably didn't want. And, the likes of Zarnell Hughes, Simbini as well in the mix. Interesting stuff. What kind of shape is Oblique Seville really in? Is he really in that 9-6 shape? It's really an interesting thing. We'll get in. I'll get to some of your comments in a second. After the race, there was a number of interviews. One in particular here, where Oblique says that running 9.87 in those conditions show he can go. He basically was saying he could go much faster, and he felt good about beating the Olympic champion twice, and it's giving him a lot of confidence heading into the World Championships. So there's something cooking there. He also mentioned a bit about the inspiration, Glenn Mills, and so on. So are we surprised that he can get to this level? No. He just has to do it in Tokyo, and by the looks of things, he's looking good. Lyles, in his post-race reaction, he mentioned that he had a horrible reaction to the gun, which, based on the data coming out of it, he reacted, I think, seconds slowest. It was like a 0.195. I think Brandon Hicklin went out in 0.204. Other than that, he felt like he was technically good. He said his warm-up was fantastic, and he just missed the start, and he finishes in feeling good about the race. Physically, he feels great, and in many ways he's very confident getting into the World Championships. But his face looked a stunned man afterwards, if you ask me. Let me get to some of the comments. Afro-Carib says, "Are you Kenyan?" No, my wife brought this back for me recently from Kenya, and when the wife brings you back stuff, you just gotta wear it from time to time. Eric says, "Can I now hear how great Noah is after so many whooping?" It's interesting. I think he probably wanted to run better in his head. This is what, second time Oblique has basically obliterated him. That can be a shock to the system. I'm not quite sure if he'll feel particularly worried about it. He has to be worried about the first phase of his race, because if he doesn't fix that, he's going to be looking outside of the medals. And at this stage, Oblique Seville is looking in fantastic shape. And I don't know if I want to say is he the favorite going in? We'll you let me know. Beerback is saying, "Blessings, how are you doing?" Eric says 9.7x performance by Oblique. Look, I can't believe those conditions aren't conditions that even him would have been used to, right? It's cold, it's rainy. You kind of wonder. I was watching it, and as actually Leighton Levy called me while it was happening, after it happened, and I was saying to him that I was a bit worried that he ran that fast. Like, you think about, why would you want to, push yourself in conditions like that? But the lad is actually in super shape. From what we are hearing is that he's been asked to even tone down how hard he's going in training, and he's actually doing that, and he's exceeding where the expectations the coach has for him. So will that mean he'll run something super time in a matter of weeks? We hope so, but it's good. It's good. Eric says, "No, I was intimidated in the blocks. Watch the tape." Oh, it is. I mean, I don't know how I'm not quite sure. I'll have to look back on that. I will say afterwards, he was a bit shell shocked. You could see, like, what just happened here, right? And it's a statement run if ever there's one, because the guy laid down a performance that, on two levels: one, you wouldn't expect running that fast in that kind of conditions, and two, were you really pushing yourself to do that, right? That's also a level of bravery there, which is interesting. Paulette, how are you doing? Blessings to you. She's also, I guess, in response to Noah, you're saying he's always finding something to say. Beerback is saying the Jamaicans beating that nail polish off Mr. Hype Fingers. I love it. Interesting. Eric says he's afraid of Oblique. Right now, I think if every athlete should be afraid of Oblique right now because the way he's getting out, it's very hard to catch him. And he looks really good. Yeah. Wayne says Oblique is a complete sprinter. He starts very fast and has the speed at the end. No, he looks good. He's from a visual standpoint, it's lovely to watch. And to contextualize things, and I know it's like beating the same thing over and over. We've talked about it on the channel. Many of you have chimed in on this. I don't think we're shocked, right, that he has that ability. We know this. He's super talented ever since he came onto the scene. It's just that he has to put it together. And even more so now. Because we're just weeks away into the championship. Unless something super happens next week from somebody that they kick up a big performance, we probably won't see Thompson run again until Tokyo. A lot of the athletes won't run unless somebody comes out and drops something that we don't know about. He's going to walk into the village in Tokyo, a stage where he started his international career, and he has to walk in as slight favorites. Whether that materializes, something we'll see. The original BI Strong is in the house, and it's like an emoji, and he has Seville. Paulette is saying, I'm going with 1, 2, 3, I guess, for Jamaica. Ooh, that is a tough call there, Paulette. That is a tough call. Now, it's never been done on the men's side for the 100 meters. It's been done for the 200 meters. It probably should have happened in years past, but that's a different story. I don't know. You're also saying that Akeem is stepping up. He ran well, got caught in the end there, 10:02. That I'm not sure about, right? I suspect he might be able to get back into the 9.8s. You hope he can get into the 9.8s. I'm not 100% sure about that. I just feel Lyles will come good. I think Kenny will come good. You don't want to write off a Zarnell Hughes. He also ran a 10:09, but he's no stranger to that international level. He picked up a medal at the last World Championships. Who knows if Simbini will finally find a way to deliver. As we knew, he started the season off to a flyer, took off a little bit, and he's coming back. This is what, maybe is this his third race since he came back? I don't know. I have to think more about it, to be honest with you. I can see I can see 2 Jamaicans on the podium. If they execute well, it should be 2 Jamaicans on the podium. 3, it's a lot of cake. Let me get back to your comments, and as usual, and when we do the joint lives, I don't always get a chance to hit up all the comments, but I hope you don't feel bad about those. The sports gurus in the house. Oblique has always had what? Oblique has always had and showed his talent. However, the key thing is now running consistently on the circuit. Honestly, no, it shouldn't come close to Kishane and Oblique. I think to your last point, I think that's true. You anticipate that these are 2 guys that should deliver in the 9.7s and maybe better based on different conversations that's been happening or expectations around those athletes. Can he get down to that? I don't know. By right, they should really run him out. And a lot of athletes do, not necessarily just the Jamaican athletes, but Lyles is an interesting character. So I'll never write him off, to be honest with you, because we have done that in the past and it doesn't necessarily work out. But you're right. The consistency now on the circuit is important. He's traveling a bit around, Oblique that is, and it's just a matter of just hitting those 2 races back to back. Spoke about it last night. We spoke about it every other minute now. Seems like a broken record. But that 90-minute period is going to be the true test. I suspect he should be able to run within himself relatively comfortably in a semifinal, get into a final, and just and do something special. Shock the world. Not necessarily by winning. I think that would be important, but shock the world by executing the very best race and just hit a time that puts you in a stratosphere of some of the greats, right? And he certainly has the talent. And I would, I've said it before. No one wants. It's always hard when you see super talented athletes they don't get the rewards that connect to the talent. But talent alone doesn't do it, right? You have to be able to do it. The original BI Strong says, be able to run in the rain is important. Yeah, I mean, that was something special. It was tough out there. It was really tough out there. Yeah. Beerback says, it's fair to say Seville flunks when no pressure, but triumphs over obstacles. Interesting way of thinking about that. Paulette says, Oblique looks superb. He does. Beerback, 10:02 is not stepping up. Akeem can't what I guess find that. I mean, I think he meant find the consistent rhythm. Yeah, he hasn't been looking so good over the last couple of races. I'd have to look at it again, but we'll see. Hopefully, oh yeah, you did correct yourself. Yeah. Gambit said, hard to predict the winner at Worlds. Oblique Shane or Noah. Exciting stuff. Yeah, I think the first two should vie for the gold medal, really and truly. But I guess we'll find out. We can't write it right now. The sports guru says Glenn Mills needed to have Oblique on the circuit long ago. Yeah, there's also issues about him not traveling well. It used to be that type of a conversation. I'm not quite sure what that really means, but we'll see. The original BI Strong says, I'm seeing 1-2. And thanks everybody for coming on, making sure you like the video there too. Denisha Buchanan says, Oblique's confidence has gone up. Yeah, I think he was really, in the post-race conversation, at least the one I saw with the organizers, yeah, he looked good. And he was pushed. He was asked some questions too about Mills, about Usain. And he kept pushing it back to the coach, which is really good. And I think the lad is feeling good, right? I think anybody who walks away running that time in that type of condition, you have to feel good about yourself. So I don't think they'll run anymore. Next stop is Japan, so we'll see. Afrocarib says he will put it together, more maturity on display, more confidence, more focus. Yeah, those are some watchwords or keywords you have to think through. Yeah, focus is important. Dell says good night. Good night to you, Dell. This race is what confirmed to me that Noah Lyles will win in Tokyo. Interesting. The storyline is just aligning perfectly for Noah to do what he usually does each year. Thus prove to everyone wrong against all the odds. I'm not sure how you see the storyline on that, but maybe you gotta explain that some more. The sports guru said Kishane is still a favorite. If both athletes run the best, Kishane will win. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'll be. I'm against that, to be honest with you. And I think I mentioned this too. I think if both of them get on the podium, a gold, silver in either direction, I think that would be a fair kind of assessment of how the season, went, and it would end in an interesting way. Right now, you have to say Oblique looks a more smoother sprinter. The last couple of races for Kishane. It hasn't looked the way you would expect, but that doesn't mean he's not going to show up and deliver, right? The explanation for the race in Poland on Saturday is widely known. Hopped off a plane, probably wasn't the best of conditions and best of preparation for a race like that, and he still managed to win. He had to work a little bit for it, but in the end, it was fairly decent, fairly comfortable for him. And I think it was important for him to win. Lyles was in the race, and I'm not saying it was important for Oblique today, but maybe it was. He already had something on Lyles the other day. But we've seen this before, right? We saw this last year when Lyles popped up at the end and in back-to-back years, which is interesting. But those two Jamaicans should be favorites there. Yo-Yo says 1, 2, 3 Jamaica, USA, Jamaica. That's your thing. Eric says our late is 1, 2, 3 many times. Yeah, I know that for sure. Yeah, it's happened. There was the 1, 2, 2 in Beijing. We've seen a couple 1, 2, 3s on a few on some occasions too. Yeah, so yeah. Paulette says you would be surprised. No, I can't remember what I said what that was in reference to. Sorry about that. It takes a while to get through some of these comments, but keep them coming. Suski says the last thing you want is for Noah Lyles to come for revenge against you in World Championships, and even worse when you give him preparation time. Okay, I mean, I guess every athlete is like that, but he no matter how steely personality you have, he has to be concerned. You can't tell me he's not a bit worried. He must be. Yeah. And Eric says in response to Yo-Yo, USA third or worse rather. The original BI strong. I'm not going by PBs. I'm going by who looks best at this time. Yeah, I agree on that too. I think the eyes tell you one thing for sure. Gabrielle says from now on, whenever Noah steps on the track and he sees black, green, and gold, he will run in the opposite direction. Not sure he's that scared, but I get where you're going. Bareback says Jamaican fans too illogical. If I guess you meant level was there, I would say 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Brian is probably looking to do something in the 200 meters, which would be a fantastic performance for him. Denisha says this defeat rather really shocked Noah. His expression at the end of the race was priceless. No, he looked, if you could ever take the tone out of someone's face, that would be it. Yeah. The original BI strong. NASA has the world lead in the 400. No one in their right minds thinks NASA winning the 400. Seville getting this 100. Yeah, we'll touch on NASA in a second too. It was an interesting performance by her. Not quite sure if she was a bit tired from the Poland run. She went out really hard there and got reeled in by Paulina on Saturday, and today just way out of it in the women's 400 meters. But we'll get to that in a second. And Eric is saying he's drinking the Kool-Aid, the Lyles Kool-Aid. Gabriel says true. Ron says Noah has said many times over the years that he's not worried. He said this again after the race for the first time. I didn't believe him. Interesting. Yeah, you have to be worried. I don't care who you are. You would be concerned. And you got to be concerned on a number of reasons, a number of areas here. He has to get the first part of the race correct. The guys are Kishane and Oblique for sure are too quick for him to give up that amount of space. No matter how good he is at the end, it's going to be a problem. Birax says Lyles is a true competitor. We can never ignore that. No, I think that's 100% correct statement there. I agree with that. Stay curious. How you doing? Seville got to stay healthy. That's important. The sports guru says the 90-minute period that you alluded to does not affect him when he runs at trials. In terms of his final performance, I think it's just performing consistently on the international scene. It's a very interesting thing. I mean, trials and the world championships are slightly different kettles of fish, if you want to put it that way. And whatever happened at the Jamaica national trials this year, which he was cramping up, spent a lot of time before he even got on the track, held up the thing for a minute. You don't want to see a repeat of that for sure in Tokyo, because if that were to happen, he's not running. They will let the race go on. So I'm not sure where I stand on that. I think it's important to knock those out back to back. He had a longer rest. I think there's an interesting training going on the circuit this year in terms of confidence and management of fast times. I would say the London Diamond League would have given him some confidence. He had a much longer period from the time he ran that backstretch leg there to when he finally ran the 100 meters. But the conditions weren't so good when he ran the 4x1. Then he came back. So I think it's a confidence thing he has to say to himself. I think he must go to Tokyo saying, I'm the man. He should say that. He should say that nobody's beating him under any circumstance. I think all athletes have to say that at some point. But I think if he can speak that out into existence, it's something that he can believe. Yeah. Del says oblique splits in the rain is better than no splits in Silesia and Poland. You mentioned there in the last Diamond League you're referring to. He maintained a 0.15 second gap from 60 onwards, even with a bad start. No one never close the closest. Oh, the closest being 0.01 at the start. Yeah. No, I don't think he was in. They weren't in the same. That race was Oblique Seville and everybody else. It wasn't in the same kind of race there. So we'll see. Eric says it's a performance of the year. You guys got these jokes. I'll put it on the screen, but be careful. He isn't Noah the Arkman. He should have been able to navigate the waters more than anyone else. You guys are out there. There's a lot of comments coming through. I'll get to them. I think I see all in the game. I see a bunch of people here. I'll get to them in a second. Paulette says he's mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically ready. That's oblique. You have to like it. Mindset says, I'm encouraged by that performance. His form execution is conducive to fast running. With the right mentality, with the right mental stability, rather, he will be hard to beat. I agree. Yeah. ML Shaw says, "This is the only problem that Oblique had in the past was health issues." Yeah. Lyndon says, "Once they run well, it will be 9.6." I'd love to see the 9.6. I'm going to be honest with you. I want to see 9.6. 9.6 is harder than it looks, but I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. Yeah. Yeah. And Bareback says, at the end of the day, Seville has to deliver. ML says, once Oblique's able to get through all the rounds healthy, no dog will bark. Peter Martin, how are you? I think on the day counts, not the world leading times. Yeah, I think when you get to the championships, you're going to see it's who can perform the best. I think speed is going to be important. Yeah, you got to run fast, but you just got to make sure you win the race. All in the game is saying Oblique, Tinch, Vessa, and Keeley in those awful conditions were performances of the meet. For sure, that's, when I was preparing for the live, I had those as the standout performances there. Got to be honest with you, I like what I'm seeing from Cordell Tinch since you mentioned that. And it's an interesting way because we all know how talented Tinch is. And the thing about his season, which is an interesting season, is that he started out with that big run there of the of 1287, right? When you started running the 12.8s, you get a little bit concerned, right? That can you approach some world records? Can you do some all time stuff? That's up there, right? And then he backed off. He didn't have all the. I wonder if they pulled him back a bit. This is something I would love to find out. And, I had some races that weren't the very best, but he's starting again to showcase some big time running. He runs 13:03, if I'm correct, on Saturday. And now today, sub 13 in that kind of condition, it's up there. I think he's going in as probably the favorite. There's a few athletes doing some interesting stuff. Murataki from Japan has now gone sub 13 as well. It's an interesting 110-meter hurdle. I'm not quite sure how to call it. Grant is not having the kind of Grant season you would expect because of injury, but you'll never count him out. But I think I'm waiting to see what will unfold. I still don't know where the medals will go in the men's 110-meter hurdles. As for Vesa, I think Vesa was in really good shape as well. I think Vesa would have run something super spectacular given what Masai did on Saturday there if she hadn't hit some hurdles. I'm not saying she would have beaten Masai. Maybe, though, she was very close when she started to hit those hurdles. And it made you wonder what would have happened after running that 12:28 in the opening round. So to do that today was really good. It was an interesting race. I'm flying solo, so I don't have all the results at hand. I can get it up on the screen here. But I was really pleased with that race. It was an interesting run to run. It's really hard to even be critical of any of these athletes because what can you say? Running 12:45 ahead of Masai 12:53. Kambunji also running in front of home crowd there 12:54, and Akira Nuja in 12:57. I thought Kenny went out well, and something happened. I have to look at the race again, but it was really interesting stuff there. Terrible conditions. And Keely, I think she would have, in better conditions, she probably would have run 153. Or maybe 154 low. 153 might be pushing it, but it was definitely going out there for some really, really good performances there. Let me get back to some comments here. Gambit says it's nice to see the conversation about the women's 400 meters is as interesting as the 100 male and female. Yeah, women's 400. We touched on it last night. It's still for me. Paulina is the favorite. I think she's gonna come and run 48 flat or somewhere there. Sid will come really good, I imagine. I'm not quite sure what to make of NASA at the moment, but NASA's been running super fast all year, 48s twice this season. Look, I think she was pushing it. She was trying something on Saturday. Didn't quite work out. Gets hauled in by Paulino, but she also has the experience. So I still think those three, the medals should go through those three. Whether McClocking beats NASA or vice versa, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll probably have to make a call on that when we do predictions. Yeah. Mindset says Noah fans are acting as if Tokyo already happened and Noah won. Interesting. All in the game again says Zarnell badly needs a full indoor 60 as he closed the fastest in 3.45 seconds for the final 40, just ahead of the top four who all closed in 3.46. Oblique to put it together for Jamaica 1-2 with Kishane. Yeah, Zarnell is exhibiting some of those early tendencies that you don't like to see, where he doesn't execute well at the start of the race. I suspect they'll have a little time to just kind of work on all of that stuff. as you lead into the championships. You do that in the just before Tokyo and when you get to Tokyo. I'm not 100% sure when they'll get into Tokyo, but that should be happening soon. I think right now athletes around the world are doing different things in preparation for Tokyo in terms of visa stuff. The cheek swabbing stuff has already started for the women. And so if you're in certain parts with accredited labs, you could do the swabs there. So there's a bunch of preparation happening there, and we'll see. Uh, Oblique, to put it together, your last point there for Jamaica 1-2 with Kishane. I think in a way you have to demand that, right? Not that you can demand things from people in that sense, but it should, that's how it, if we go true to form, those two guys should do it. And Oblique should have been on the podium last year. And so this year, I think it's his moment. He has to believe that. I hope he does. Delman, point one. Okay, I think I got what you're saying there. Yeah. Some internal conversations going on. Eric says Oblique is done. Next is Worlds. He said, yeah, he did say that. Yeah, he did say that. So he's not running until, because I think they asked him if he was going to complete the Diamond League season, and that was a categorical no. Suski says, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but yes, Noah is very worried. As a fan of Noah, I always say that the one person that makes me nervous is Seville. However, I also think the best way to beat Noah is to sneak up on him. I'm not sure what you mean on the sneak up portion of how to beat Noah. Maybe you could clarify that. Everybody's afraid of Oblique Seville. If you're Kishane Thompson sitting down, you have to take notice. Everyone is taking notice. How you internalize that, what that means for you is something different. But the guy did something extraordinary. I think All in the Game commented earlier saying we shouldn't expect great performances because of the conditions. And in a way, it's wild that we got some of these performances. If you let him know you're coming, he'll be prepared. Oblique should be prepared to meet and know Lyles with a fixed start at Worlds. I think they know that. I think they know that. And yeah, I'll get to some more comments here. Average Joe says, no, I'm not touching Kishane or Oblique in the 100, 200, though, is his event. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I want to see what you get from Let's See Tobago. It's going to be an interesting thing. Tobago doing the double, Kenny doing the double, Noah doing the double. So they all will get into a 200 meter where they would have extended a significant amount of energy there. Not that they're not prepared for that, but it's different when someone's just sitting, waiting. And that's why it's an interesting year. I think same for Zarnell. I think he's doing the double as well. But what does that mean for the likes of a Brian Lavelle? He's going to be fresher than the lot. Could he spoil the party? We'll see. Yeah. Stay Curious says Seville hasn't proven he can do it when it counts. Yeah, that is true. And this is his moment to do it. Brian Lou says, I'm not sure that these Noah fans understand what happened today. They need to look at what's that? The two, I guess you're saying the two races Noah wasn't reeling in at all. Okay. Maybe there's a little error there. I think I understand what you're saying. Yeah, he wasn't there. Brian, what's going on? Vesa is the one to beat in the 100-meter hurdles. Today proves she was on her way to victory before her hurdle mishap in Poland. I think Masai and company should be worried. I agree on that statement in terms of worry. I cannot pick a winner of the 100-meter hurdles. It's just hard to do because the quality of the athletes are there. There's a bunch of athletes that's gone 12, 20 this season. Masai, 17 and 19. Grace Stark, we haven't seen her a little bit, but I'm sure she'll come good. Toby Amason has been running well as well. And then there's a bunch at like the 12:30, low 12:30s. Vessa obviously too in the 12:20s. You think about even Danielle Williams running a PB on Saturday, 12:31 at her age, at this stage of her career. Madness, right? Megan Tapper, you know, Kambunji, all these athletes can do something. So I just don't know. I don't think there's a single athlete you can say in the 100-meter hurdles that's the overwhelming favorite, right? It's going to be tough. Akira Nugent too, right? She ran well early this season. She's not been having the best of races recently, but that could change by the time you get to Tokyo, because you know she has the ability to run 12 twos too. So my thinking on it hasn't changed. To ensure victory, or to ensure podium presence rather, you need to be able to get into that 12 twos. You have to be in that type of shape. If an athlete can pop up and run 12 flat right now, or break the world record before the world championships, which probably wouldn't happen, then I might change my mind. But other than that, the variation between some of these athletes is just very hard to feel like there's an overwhelming favorite here. So that's how I would think through it. Yeah. Stay curious isn't agreeing with Brian. All in the game responding to me, excluding his opener on the 5th of April in GST. Tinch has yet to finish outside the top two in his other 16 Haunton hurdles races. 11 wins this year, winning his last 3 in a row. No, yeah. When I don't know if you're misinterpreting what I was saying, or maybe we're on the same page. I think they purposely pulled him back from where he was, in terms of like he dropped that 12:87. And you're like, hold on, that's too early, and we don't want you running so fast, this early and consistently fast. And so I know he's getting back into that kind of low 13s again, now sub 13 in that kind of condition. So he might be the man to beat. I think he might be the man to beat. But again, I don't know, right? It's tough out there. It's interesting. A bunch of guys. Iapis was in the race today, and he finished way down in 13:13. He was on the podium, not on the podium, outside the podium last year. Simonelli running. Trey Cunningham looked okay until he got chopped down. There's some interesting stuff in hurdles. The youngster from America there as well, Jacoby. I'm not sure how to make that as well. Bareback says, our Jamaican hurdles regressing. I don't know. I mean, it's tough out there. It is tough out there. It's very hard to see women running 12 threes and say there's an issue there. I just don't. I can't buy that argument right now, because 12 threes is just remarkable at times. The sport has evolved significantly in the last how many years with these athletes pushing these times, but you could win titles with 12 fives. You could definitely get on podiums with 12 fives, 12 6 in a few years, a decade or more ago. And so now the fact that they're moving in different, taking it to another level, it's just hard for me to think about that. Yeah. Kenneth says, can Oblique run rounds and don't crash and burn? I think you've been asking this a lot, and we haven't gotten. Sorry, I didn't get back to some of your comments on earlier. I think he can run the rounds. Okay, he's used to rounds now. Anything that may have been an issue cannot be an issue anymore. You would have to believe, right? He ran rounds in Tokyo in 21. He ran rounds in Eugene in 2022. He ran rounds in Budapest. He ran rounds in Paris. Walking out of the semifinal in Paris, you couldn't tell anybody that he wasn't going to be on the podium. Got, he got an injury. It's unfortunate. I think if things align, I think he'll be fine. Mr. Smith says Kishain not afraid. Is not afraid. No, I mean you mean off Noah. I don't think. Yeah, I think people will be mindful of Noah. Noah has a reputation that is one that you have to take into consideration. I don't care who you are. You have to look sideways, even if you're in the greatest shape of your life, because the guy is, he finds his way a lot. But as I mentioned before, those two guys should go into the championship feeling that the only thing Lyles should be seeing is Nike spikes and Adidas spikes, right? And the back of them too. That's the confidence they should get into the championship with. All in the game. Well done to the NC. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about Doris. Doris was fabulous today, running by herself. That was outrageous running. I'll try to get it up on the screen in a second here. I like what as you know, the steeplechase is a very competitive event. It's a tough space to be in. Doris Lemongi, the Kenyan athlete there, stepped up in a big way at the NCAA championship. Kind of surprised me. And today she basically was running by herself. I think at the end she said something like it was kind of difficult to run by herself there. But it wasn't an easy kind of race to navigate. But she really pushed out on that. And I think she's in a position to be on the podium. It's not easy to get on the podium because the likes of Ayave, Faith Cheritage, Chemutai, those women usually find a way. Can she get into the 8.4s? I don't know if 8.4s you will need to run 8 minutes 40 or in a championship because there's no wave light, there's nothing there. Yeah, I just don't know, but I think she should be able to do something. If you're a supporter of her, you might be confident that you might be able to get on the podium. But it's not going to be easy. Let me get back. What else are you saying here? Diamond League debut by huge torrential downpour, and also Ezekiel. Yeah, Nathaniel there from Nigeria too. He looked good. He had to do some work at the end there, but you have to like him. The problem for Nathaniel, the problem for everybody else, if we could even get back a fit, what's the guy from BVI? His name is slipping me right now. Oh my God. He'll come to me. The Jamaicans, it doesn't matter who you are. The 400-meter hurdles, the medals are accounted for. And you could run 47 flat and you're going to see Fort. At this stage, I'm going with Varham. I think he's better. He took some time off. That run, that 46:28 in Poland, the way in which he finished the race strong, it speaks volumes that I'm not saying he's in shape to go sub 46 again. I'm not sure if he can ever get back to that level. But you like his chances a bit more than Rai, and certainly a bit more than Alison Dos Santos. And all those athletes at different moments in the season look really well. And the thing about Varham is he's going to push it. He's going to push to the first 300 and he's going to ask of you to come with him. And sometimes when you do go with him, in the last couple of years when he struggled with some injuries, he got caught. Will he get caught? Will they catch him this time? I'm not quite sure. I doubt it. Beerback is saying Noah lucky if he beats Brian Lavelle. That's an interesting statement. What are your expectations of how fast you think Brian Lavelle can go? He hasn't. This is going to be an interesting time for the lad. That's not the kind of pressure I'd want to put on him. I'm sure he can handle it. It will be difficult, I believe, for him to get on the podium. Is it impossible? I don't think so. Can he shock the world? I think he can. So we'll see. Gambit says nobody's beating a healthy Lyles in the 200, but the 100 meter, that's a different story. Bareback thinks Brian Level has something up his sleeve. I don't know. Ms. Horton is here saying we need Broadbell or national champion Bennett is so inconsistent. Yeah, he's out for the season. Broadbell, that is. What is it? An Achilles injury, I believe. We probably won't see him until 27. Usually takes a good 12 months. Okay. The science on healing from a surgery and he did do Achilles surgery, right? So when they repair that, and I don't know what method they use, if they use the burrito method or whatever, and I only know this because I've been through this. It could take him 6 months to go back on the track, not to compete but to train. But usually you want to go 9 months before you do anything because the rate of re-injury decreases by 50% if you wait 9 months. And so then it's going to take him a very long time to get back to any kind of level that's so he can be competitive. So I wish him the very best, but it's going to be tough. It's a long road ahead. Yeah. Objectivity says late again, not seeing the videos until 40 minutes in. Not sure objectivity, that's a YouTube thing. They probably think you don't like the channel anymore. I'm joking. Objectivity says, I'm going to assume you already spoke about the big race today. We did, but it doesn't mean you can't chime in. Yeah. Sherwood, how are you doing? With Oblique, time will tell. However, the 2 runs in London seems to suggest things are different this year. Yeah, we want to believe that. I think you want to believe that. I like it. Stay curious. Thoughts on the long jump continuing to run under those conditions? I felt like they could have stopped it. The thing is, it's less dangerous than say like the triple jump, but it was the takeoff board was. I'm not quite sure how stable that was because the water there was coming in at different angles. They probably should have called that as well, but maybe they had a conversation with the athletes and they decided to continue. But as all in the game is saying here, pole vault was ended early. Same should have happened with the long jump because the board was dangerous. See, I didn't even see that. Yeah, the board didn't look good. It's dangerous. You can do pole vault for sure. There's a lot of interesting things. Even the javelin was struggling, and you want that area to be very dry. How the shot put guys managed to even perform is beyond me too, because spin technique requires a sector that's, you can take a little moisture on it, but you want to be able to control it. It's bad. I felt bad for the whole meet because Lausanne is such an iconic meet, and it's also a celebratory moment for them. A lot, they were panning in the crowd, and you saw a bunch of superstars of yesteryear. It's always a great meet. It's a great place to be. Candy Kane says triple jumper Ramomchuk suspended for 4 years for testosterone use. Yeah, we mentioned a bit about it last night. I read the AIU report very fast, so I could make some mistakes here. My takeaway with it in some respects is I'm disappointed because at some point, I'm disappointed in the way she handled the process in the end. That's why she got the 4 years, because she didn't show up to confess or they tried to make a story for why that testosterone was in the body, which clearly didn't pass muster. There wasn't a therapeutic use exemption applied for after or even before. And I like Bekra, I really, but you can't also disrespect the sport. I was a bit shocked that this happened, but I don't want to get into the whole network of things, but they didn't fight. So in the end, she started to complain about the process. Felt like the AIU wasn't handling her well. But she has lawyers. They should have done something there. And yeah, hopefully, I don't know, if she feels like she's clean, then she has to appeal at the court for arbitration for sport. Cheryl Boga, how are you doing? Good night, everyone. Amen. She's a new subscriber. Very good. Thank you so much for taking the plunge to be a part of the community. It's always good when more people come in. So I appreciate the subscription. All right, let me get back to this. I think I missed Mr. Roosmith. Though I'm not a fan of Lyle, though I'm not a fan, Lyles has nothing really to prove. He has shown he's a championship performer. He's a fighter. Now it's time for the others to prove themselves. No, I agree. I think look, a lot of people don't like Noah for different reasons. I think that's part of it too, and I think he likes that, right? That makes more people watch. I think I was responding to someone in the chat, in another comment. He certainly knows how to control the agenda. He has really good agenda setting capability. He wants to be in the spotlight regardless. He wants you to think about him, and he does some interesting stuff that we may not particularly like, and sometimes his style, maybe style choices is not my taste, but I'm not here to watch a style, but it comes across. But outside of a couple big runs, I would say Tokyo and last year, which he said he had COVID, so this is the major kind of blight on what has to be an all-time great career, certainly over 200 meters, and at this stage is really making himself into a complete sprinter, right? I think the reason why he's even hyped over the 100 meters is because for a long period of time they never thought to put him into the 100 meters because they didn't feel, I think Lance thought he wouldn't be competitive enough, and he not only became competitive, the guy has the world championship title and the Olympic title. Now, those things speak volume. You add that to a bunch of things, I suspect he'll finish his career happy. He'll be disappointed not to win a gold medal in the 200 meters at the Olympics. I can't see him winning in LA, but because that's a bit further away and he's going to be much older then, but you never know. You never know. Yeah, so I think you have to respect that he'll show up. And I think that's the thing about him. People will get a bit worried or concerned that if you're not in the greatest of shape, he can do something. 200 meters. Your thoughts on the 200 meters tonight? Brittany Brown there running into shape. I think she wants to see if she can get into. She has to win the Diamond League, right? Unfortunate for Brittany Brown in the sense that had some struggles this year, got back, and couldn't quite get it done at the U.S. National Championship in the sense that barely missing out. That what was it? It was Gabby Thomas, Brown, and Mackenzie Long all running 22-20 there at the US Championship, separated by very small margins. You know, Mackenzie Long, I'm not quite sure what to make of. I think both of them, if they could, winning a Diamond League would get them into it, but we'll see. All in the Game says can't mention Beck Romanchuk without mentioning our problematic agent Federico Rosa. Yeah, I was holding off from saying that, but I guess you brought it up, so we'll say. There's a history there, and it's not clear to me that he's good for the sport. That's all I will say. I think there has to be an overall on how we take care of the sport when it comes to coaching, when it comes to agents, people around the athletes. Mentioned it before. It's very difficult to go after the network of athletes. Most of the time, when athletes take performance enhancing drugs or they do anything that is contrary to the integrity of the sport, it's never done by themselves. It's always, or most of the time, done with the help of others. How do you go after those people? It's very difficult when you don't have the necessary resources to do that. There was a landmark legislation in 2020 in the United States here, the Rodchenkov Act. That was the first major kind of legislation that allowed the full force of the Justice Department to go after the network around the athletes, and also internationally as well. In the context that I suspect if you stepped in the United States, they could do something or ask for extradition stuff if necessary. And so what the Rodchenkov Act does, if most of you are not familiar with it, I think I've done a video on this before. Well, in a previous life, it makes you go after coaches, doctors, anybody who supply athletes with the drugs. So it doesn't go after the athletes themselves. So the athletes, when they get caught, it's all under WADA code. It's all under AIU, which is the agency in charge of anti-doping that World Athletics kind of structure in an independent capacity. But you can go after the people who supply that. And so the only landmark case we know about this is the Eric Lira case that surrounded the whole Blessing Akbari stuff and the different athletes there. You need more resources. I guess you need probably more high profile stuff for them to really go after that. Because the thing you learn about federal prosecutors, or they want to go after cases that will look good in the end, will have lots of connections. So it's a long story to say we need to do something there. We need to start handing out some severe punishment to the suppliers or people who enable these things. How we do it is challenging. I think you need legislation across different nation states. Different countries have to certainly figure out a way to deal with that. But yeah, something has to be done there. Yeah. All in the Game is saying Dean and Daryl are all over the place this year. They could somehow end up not making either World Championship 1 or 200 final, and then end up winning 4x1 goal. That's how weird the season is. Yeah, I'm intrigued by. Let's take Daryl first. So Nita, false starts out of the 100 in the British Championship, comes back in the 200 meters, where we saw Dean Asher-Smith running a really good race. Amy Hunt chasing. Amy Hunt wins the 100. I don't know what to make of it. Daryl's season is interesting. She has the experience, but it's not giving me confidence that she's in the right space to make progress into finals. She could shock us, but it doesn't look that way right now. As for Asher Smith, left Coach Flo back in London. Still haven't gotten a lot of details on it. I need to ask some people. I don't know. To your point of the 4x1 goal, it could happen. I don't see three people beating, three teams beating Team GB. I think they'll be on the podium. They could win it all with the right exchanges. They've been doing a lot of practice. They look good. You have to like Amy Hunt. I think you've been mentioning that you put the youngster on it and they may be able to do something. The Jamaicans suddenly looking really good. If you assemble the two Clayton sisters that seem to be looking really good, we have to see what you get from a Sharika Jackson, Fraser Price. They should be in the mix. I don't think they start favorites. The US should normally start favorites here. But you never know what's happening there. Is Gabby out of their 4x1 pool? They should start in an interesting way too. But we'll see. Let me see. Stay curious. Will Gabby explain how she went from 22-6 in 2020 to 21-6 in 2021 in a year? Training. I don't. It's not. I'm not really. It's. I don't. I'm not. I don't know what you're saying there, Steve. Are you saying there's something suspicious? It can happen. You can make these big jumps. I think that I'm not sure. I think there's an issue there. Yeah. Candy Kane says the high school students running those fast times is very suspicious and probably without help. You got to give me some more details of which high school athletes you're talking about. We saw that case recently with the youngster there from Suriname, and his coach recently was suspended and I think initially fired for giving athletes performance enhancing stuff. I've been trying to watch that space. I haven't checked recently whether or not he might also end up in a whole Justice Department thing as well. Objectivity. Dean has been regressing over the past few years. Yeah, I had a lot of high hopes for Dean Asher Smith. I was really excited when she decided to go to Texas. Didn't work out. But I will say, and I've been saying this, it takes a lot to leave your longtime coach. And then not only to do that, to leave your country, to go to another country, to go to Texas. But it also takes a fair amount of courage to recognize that, hey, this might not be working out for me and I want to try and finish the career in a high. I don't know what that is. I thought she would have gotten back to at least sub 22s or maybe get back to like a 10-8-ish runner. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but you never know, right? She ran okay the other day at the British Championship. Does she have more in the tank? I'm not quite sure, but we'll have to see. All in the game responding to stay curious, like how Elaine went from 23 in 14 to 21 66 in 15. Just see. All in the game is saying Gabby with her new 49-14  400 PB should stay away from the 4x1 drama. Focus on trying to break the 4x4 world record with Sid, Bella, Aliyah, Alexis, etc. Given how close they came last year. I will agree with that. I think you mentioned that before and a few things. I think that makes sense to me. It's pretty close to that world record. I think they should be able to do it. It's last year was fabulous. I just feel bad for Gabby in the sense that I think she was cooking something. Tanja was having her cooking something this season. When you consider how she started that season early with that 49 low, I started to wonder, could she? I don't think we talked about this or anybody, but I felt like, oh, I missed a comment. I'll get back in a second. If I missed some comments there. Uh, I started to look at Gabby like, could she pull a Marie Jose Perec, right? That was what I was starting to think when I saw that low 49. And I hope she gets back healthy. I hope they figure it out because it would be nice to see her trying a 4-2 double. I know it's kind of crazy to do that, and it's not easy to pull that stuff off. But I think the world record is in sight. It's been on the books in Seoul, the Soviet Union, 3:15:17. The US went really close last year, 3:15:27, and which was just better than the second place performance in 1988. And for those of you who've never seen that 4x4, it's brilliant. It's one of the greatest runs you'll see. We can talk about other permutations there, but that was really good. Let's see. Africa will say you missed you missed my question just ahead of. Oh, I did. Let me see. Let me get back up there. My bad. My bad. You know, no, I don't know where it is. Africa. Maybe you gotta post it again. I'll try to. I may have missed it. Yeah, when you get it up, I put it back again and I'll see. Jared said, "Who you predict to win Diamond League Final 200?" You mean men or women? I think they gave Noah a buy right into it. I don't know. I yeah, I don't know right now to be honest with you. I think Noah will try to win it. I suspect if he's running. Objectivity says Gabby seems distracted. She seems to be fighting many battles off the track. No, this is very interesting. She went on a whole tweet fest or so. You know, she's talking about she was a bit naive when she started a sport. I think she was a bit upset about. I think she was making some stuff. You know, she was flying missiles to a lot of people. It's interesting. She basically is saying that if you're a coach and you're being caught, you shouldn't be in the sport. Even if you also if you're got caught when you was an athlete as well. And then she's talking about athletes who who train with what I guess she's calling doping coaches. Oh, in some ways, you know, she questions their integrity as well. I'm paraphrasing all of that right now from what I recall looking at. Yeah, you know, she's on a soapbox right now, but she can say it. You know, I think some people hit back a bit with the whereabouts stuff that she got cleared on, but I, yeah, I don't know what to make of that. You know, Jared is saying it's Noah versus Tobago. Sophisticated one is saying objectivity. He's agreeing with objectivity. I agree. Sadly, I don't like seeing this side of Gabby. It seems like she's grabbing for straws and she's vulnerable right now. Interesting. I don't know what Gabby went through a lot too in terms of like you know she gets a lot of hate mail. You know, she had that stalker situation. Yeah, I don't really know what is the impetus behind this to go public and do all of that stuff, but it's interesting. Yeah. And all in the game to say, yeah, she just needs to lock in on doing the 200 and the 4x4. I guess you're responding to objectivity there. Jared, do you have a favorite for worlds in the 100 for women and men? Uh right now I'm going with the two Jamaicans. If I'd go off on if I just I don't know what to say. Part of me still feels like Kishane Thompson might have a slight edge, but Oblique is running fabulous. It's hard for me to make that call right now. I have to make the call because I want to put myself on record, but give me some more time there. For the women, I think it's between Julian Alfred and Melissa Jefferson Wooden. Honestly, MJ is undefeated. She really should start as everyone's favorite. I have a like soft spot for Alfred. I called the Alfred thing really early last year. I kind of called it already this year. Obviously, Jefferson has the 10-6 on a couple of occasions. I still feel that run in Monaco from Julian would have been a super fast time if it wasn't for the headwind. And I like her 21-7 into a headwind too. I think those two will battle it out. It's gonna be a run for the ages there. I don't think it's as clear cut. Some people think it's really straightforward for Melissa. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it is. I think it's gonna be a tough race, and we'll see. Uh, Candy Kane says high schoolers like Gout, Wilson, and others very suspicious running these times. I'm not sure. I think Gout is just like a generational talent. We'll see. We'll see him at the World Championships. They've been handling him well. I think they're doing their best to not let everything get to his head. I think Chris is here. He's from Australia. He can give us the details on this. He's also a former athlete. I think they're trying to hype him up, but he has a good team around him. Gout, that is. Wilson, I think he's a prodigy too as well. I'm a bit shocked that he fell out of the US Championships after running 44. What was it, 44:10 the week before, 44 something like that. It happens. We always see athletes from time to time. History is replete with this of super talented athletes, and the question is, can they transition into senior and beyond? And sometimes it takes some time. So we'll see. Hey Debbie, I see you coming in. I'll get to you in a second. All in the game says Gabby clearly making points others have made about Dennis Mitchell. Yeah, Green Machine. Try not to get in trouble here. He has a history. It's not like we're making stuff up. When he was an athlete, that's there, and subsequently there's some other interesting things there. So she's definitely honing in on that. Her comments are definitely directed to everybody in the camp as well, and it's a massive camp, so you have to think that Gabby probably needs to fly in on her own plane into Tokyo and avoid a few people because there's some side eyes there. She probably got Grubhub or lunch in Tokyo or whatever version they have there. I don't know, right? Maybe she needs to go hang out with some other people. It's a bit frosty right now, I would imagine. Especially, I would love to be in the WhatsApp groups right now to see what's happening there. Sophisticated One says, it seems that Gabby is for the first time reaching for straws, and I'm not sure if she's venting properly. Interesting. I don't know what to make of it. The thing is, she's doing it publicly, so in a way you have to respect it. Wow, it's already. I told my wife I was only doing an hour tonight. I'm gonna get in trouble. Chris, I lived in that era when 10 and 20 and 44 were fine. Thank you very much. Hey, it's different time, different generation, different training preparation, a more professionalization, a bent towards professionalization, improvement on sports science, improvement on equipment, track, personal equipment, tracking, wearable devices now taking over. It's all cameras everywhere, analyzing your gait, your steps, your everything. So there's an expectation that improvement will happen over time. So that's why it's very difficult to kind of compare across eras, Yeah. Jared says, do you think Gabby herself is clean? She has not tested positive, so yes. Uh, I have no reason to believe that she is she isn't. Yeah. Chris, time doesn't matter as much as the theater. Yeah, there's some theater happening right now in sports, and you have to like it. Yeah. Sophisticated one says, "Sports Tech, do you think Juju can pull one on Melissa? It seems she's gonna have to PB. Quite possibly she has to PB, but we must remember that I know this is very hard to do. I often don't like it. That's why I tend not to talk about the. I remember 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago, I always trying to do these calculation, and sometimes it's like much ado about nothing, right? What conditions you're running, and try to compare whether this is better or not. We still do it. If you look at Alfred's performance, I would say she's in similar timing or shape as Jefferson Wooden. Especially, I think it's the Monica performance, right? You can check me on that. So yes, the PB might come, but I think she would have run 10-6 last year if it wasn't poor conditions in Paris. So the capability is there. I'm not worried about the fact that our PB doesn't say a 10-6, right? So I think they're in similar shape right there, and in many ways, I think Julian is ahead in the 200 meters, and all that background work and flow forcing her to run 400s and all of that stuff. I think it will work out in the end. Objectivity says, is Julian injured or not? I'm hearing conflicting stories. I don't know. I, I'll find out again. I think they said she's not injured, but I don't know. I really don't know. Or yeah. Candy Cane says the Twins can win the 100 only if they fix their form. When the Twins and Kishane amend their forms, they will be unbeatable. Yeah, the Twins can win the 100 right now. It's still too early for them. It would be good if they get on a podium. That would be a major step. I think the plan is for them to be, well, it's only one available to run unless the other one were to win a Diamond League final. But I think the plan is to have them in 10-7 shape by the time we get to Tokyo. Can that happen? Can they execute? I don't know. They have a lot of time. They're still young. They just turned. How old are they now? 20. So it's like they're young. Hi, Debbie. Mr. Ru. Well, Gabby, that means a lot. Well, Gabby, that means a lot of US athletes won't have their current coaches at the moment, and maybe you guys, USA athletes, won't be producing such fast times. Interesting. Objectivity. I'm going to be messy, but Gout seems 2 years older than his listed age. You know, every night you come and get me into some situations. You know, the kid is young. Don't yeah. I have no reason to think otherwise. Unless you have some information you want to put through. Debbie says God is not making it through the heat. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, he had an early season, so it's interesting. It's hard for him to come back, especially at his age. But they'll try. I think it would be good experience for him. His cycle has to look towards the next Olympics. Sophisticated one. What's your opinion on Brussels Friday? Shelly Shakari, Ophelia, Melissa, Mia McCoy, Nita, oh my. Uh it should be good. I want to see it. I haven't thought much about it yet, but we'll see. Objectivity. Star athletics athletes were the stars of their nationals. Yeah, it was. Jared, is 47.5 possible for Sydney? What? I don't think any woman can run that. Just that's all I will say right now. All in the game says weather should be better on Friday in Brussels. We hope so. We hope so. Yeah. Sophisticated one says Gabby picked a weird time to unload Frosty's while, and the side eyes will definitely have her using Grubhub. No going out with friends for a while. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah. I don't know, Jared, about Kennedy. I can't. I don't. I have no idea. I'm not putting that on the screen either. Sophisticated one says, like him or not, Noah gonna be ready. Goal can be Kishane or Noah or even Seville if he has the race of his life. Sheesh. Jared says Noah running 19-2 at Tokyo. Not happening. No one is running 19-2 after rounds. I'm just saying, I would be shocked. I would be taken aback. Sophisticated. This will be a doozy at the world. It will be a fight. Yeah, it will be. Track talk news. Twins in the relay. Yeah, should. I think so. The J Shreers have to make that call, but if they know what's good for them, they should do that. Objectivity. The Twins program is called Project 2028. You have to like that. Trevor says it's interesting. Vesa has gone from 1240 to 1228, and no one seems to suggest she's doping. It's a drastic drop, and we don't usually see Europeans running that fast in hurdles. Well, I mean, they had the world record. Dunk over. You had Ludmila Enquist there. No, I think it's fine. I mean, Kambunji is running good. Vesa has been running really good over these last years. I think what's happening also in the hurdles is that the demands to be better comes every day. That's what's happening. It's coming every day. Yeah. So I don't really. I'm not sure it's a problem, to be honest with you. But if you want to unpack it some more, then maybe give me some more on that. But I'm not quite sure. Debbie, remember what happened in 2000 year with young Shelley? Yeah, we all remembered. Yeah, it's a great night. I wonder how she must have felt because all the calls were for VCB to be in the team ahead of her. Rest is history. Greatest 100-meter athlete we've seen in terms of a career. So, yeah. Sophisticated one says Sydney's studying NASA and Paulina. I think she may be the dark horse. If they are not careful, I don't think she'll run if she wasn't somehow confident. No, I think she's coming to try and get on to the podium, and to win. I don't think Bobby sets it up if he doesn't expect her to win. Whether she wins is a different story. Paulina is no joke. I think she's a dominant athlete. She'll fight. It's not. It's she's tough. All in the game says Coach Flo Camp also having issues with Dina and Akala Garrett leaving, Lene Thomas missing all year, and Rashidat Adelika ending her season early. And now questions are Juju. Yeah, I'm Juju rather. Yeah, I'll have to check into it again. I'll have an answer on Friday night. We should be back live. I think we're probably doing a duo live on Friday if we can sort it out. So, yeah, objectivity there. Wanga says so sad for Akane Simbini, possibly another fourth or fifth place finish this year. Hopefully a miracle happens for him. Yeah, you have to like Akane. It's one of those things. He started the season so well. I kind of get the impression that he'll be in good shape by the time you get to Tokyo. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. I'm not quite sure even if he gets to his very best, if it will afford him a podium place. Because I feel like there's two guys here with the capabilities of running something super fast, and you have a bunch of other people. It's very competitive. But Akane is a nicer guy you won't meet. But the sport is tough. Ask Talu, although Talu has been on the podium, but she's missed out a lot as well. So it's one of those things. Candy Cane says Dennis Mitchell came out of nowhere with these fast times. Once a cheetah, always a cheetah. I would not be surprised if news broke. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I have no idea. Uh Sophisticated one. I was wondering who that girl was that beat Masai. She was flying. Impressive run from raining conditions. Goes to show favorites can be shook if conditions are. No, Vesa is a top class hurdler. I don't know. I mean, she's been around for a minute. Uh Vesa would be disappointed not to do better. Vesa, I thought would have. I can't say if she would have beaten Masai on Saturday, but in on Saturday she ran 12:28 in the heats, and she was in pole position. I thought in the final in Poland to do something super special, and it just never happened. So I mean, I'm not quite sure what else to say. I'm not shocked by what's happening in the women's 100-meter hurdles. When Kenny came along, she pushed it. Then you see Amazon. There's a bunch of 12.2s we've seen over time. Athletes, they do get into that. I think we haven't quite reached the ceiling of the women's 100-meter hurdles. I suspect that we might get to a point where the athletes may go sub 12. I think it's gonna come I'm not saying this generation will do it because I can't predict that well, but I think she'll be fine, I think she'll definitely be fine. Yeah. You got to remember, she was a 12-3 athlete, so I'm not that surprised. Yeah. Debbie says Kennedy of Australia has a better spot than Gout. Interesting. Melissa is running too many races. Brian says she'll hit a brick wall if she's not careful. Yeah, she's been running fast all season. This is probably the end, the end of the season. I don't think she. I don't know. I think she. Yeah, let me take that back. I'm not quite sure. That's an interesting thing. Yeah. Sophisticated one agrees with Wanga that I want him to medal individually before he retires. Yeah, it's tough. He got a medal this year in indoor, but it's interesting. Track Talk News says Vessa was up there with Masai last race until she hit the hurdle. Yeah, exactly. Track says that I didn't get to see women's 400. What happened to NASA? Not quite sure what happened to NASA. Did she give a quote at the end of the race? Let me check. I think I have some flash quotes here. NASA didn't look good at all. It could be conditions. I'm not quite sure. She wasn't in it at all. It's it's one of those races that it's hard to make sense of what happened today, especially for some athletes the conditions may have been challenging. I'll put up the results. You probably have seen the results. I think Jaga looked good in the end there. Lika Klava, from my memory, ran a really good bend. She she was out there in she's in like lane 8 or something like that, and she was pushing, but Jaga just went through there, got the best of her. Whitaker was also closing on Alexis Holmes, if my memory serves me correctly. Williams there, 53.05. I'm concerned about that, but we'll see. Kazmarek she didn't really do much today as well. So I think NASA kind of gave up in the end in the home stretch, if my memory serves me correctly, but she wasn't winning the race. And I don't know if that's a function of the conditions or she was a little bit tired or sore from Saturday's race. Yeah. Uh, Maybe others can chime in on that. Trevor says Kambunji's back. She is. Ditaje is back. I think she'll show up at the championships in good shape. You just never know. She might pop a 12-3. Will that be good enough to do anything? Probably not, but we'll see. What else? Our sister is out for the season. She's pregnant. All in the game says Gabby has always fitted better with fellow Ivy Leaguers like Bella Whitaker. She seems more at home with quarter milers, Bella and Sid, than the short sprints like the Star Athletics group. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get into it. I think there's rifts there, and people know these stories come out. It's just not my style to talk about all of that stuff. There there are camps, right? And people get along for different reasons, and there are sometimes people unfairly describe people, and yeah, so we'll see. Uh Debbie says don't sleep on the Clayton twins. I won't sleep on them, but we'll see. Yeah. Trevor says by European I mean white. Yeah, but the world record holders were, you had, as I said, Dunkova. There's Sally Pearson was top of the tree for a while. Could have pushed things even further. What was Sally Pearson's PB? Was it what 12:22, 12:20? I can't, off the top of my head. I can't remember. All in the game of us. He's already responded to this. Yeah, he was like, yeah, but yeah, Dunkova, Australian. Yeah, it's. I don't think it's I don't think it's an issue. Stay curious says Akane got that money early. South Africa might get that 4x1 goal. I think they'll medal. I think they really have a strong chance to medal. The goal might be tough, but you never know. The US will be there, the Jamaicans should be there. Great Team GB could spring a surprise as well. Yeah, all of that stuff. All right, guys, I'm going to run through some comments and I got to get out of here. Chris says, I like cricket conditions can reverse all expectations. I saw a guy come last in the 400. He was strong, not fast. They measured the starting line, which was incorrect. So they reran the race. He won. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that, but another time. Trevor, outliers, Eastern Europeans are champion dopers, and it's quite possible Sally hey, I don't know about that. Yeah. Afrobody, what's going on? Year after year, people don't know, and year after year, he proves everyone wrong. Doesn't it get tiring? uh, Candy says Akani just does not have the talent. The young South Africa shows promise, though Wazala, etc. I think he has the talent. It just never happened, right? It's just tough. Yeah. Sophisticated one. Hopefully Akane can peak again next month. Imagine him getting third for once in Worlds. It would be wild. Jared says, do you consider for a choker? I don't want to bring up Asafa tonight. I mean, he's retired. So, all in the game. Nadine Vessa's top class has been fourth, fifth in the last two Olympics. Yeah, and you got to think, what she ran last year in the Olympics, was it 12:36 or 12:31 or so? A 12:36 has never failed to medal in the Olympics before, if my memory serves me correctly. Until last year. I have to check it again. Sophisticated one. I gotta look up Vessa. Thought she was new. No, she's been around for a while. She's what, probably 30 now or 31, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Vessa is one of those ones who was expected to win when Danielle Williams won her first one, and they didn't shake and they didn't shake her hand. I can't remember this. This is why in 15. I have to look at that again. Yeah. Objectively, NASA could be tired. Hasn't. Oh, she been running since. Yeah, she's been running fast all season. Yeah, so we'll see. Brian says NASA has tried to change tactics in running a more subdued first 200, but it backfired in those conditions and didn't find anything in the last. I'm not quite sure. There's some internal conversations with all in the game there, and I'll leave that out. Yeah, Sally is Australian. Sally Pearson, 12:28 national record, 5 world championship / Olympic medals, 3 goals, 2 silver. Yeah, top class. And I think she could have gone again, and she got injured, right? Was it the knee she damaged or so? I think she had some kind of a surgery and then eventually never really came back I think she came back, but the career was cut short after that. Sherwood doesn't like. Okay, Afrobody's handle. Yeah. Anyway, all right. 2015. Sophisticated. What's your opinion on Paulina running down NASA in their most recent race? It's Paulina doing Paulina things, and you don't phase her. Nobody phase her. I don't care. Last night I was talking to Leighton on the live, and maybe we were positing that maybe Sydney could, change her thinking on stuff. But I don't think so. I think Paulina never gets scared. She's never scared. What's that guy that sung that song? Yeah, I forgot his name. Anyway, I think she'll be fine. It's going to be a tremendous race, and I like what I saw here. Her when she ran down her, it just showed me that she has the guts, the grit, everything. Anyway, guys, it's been fun. I spent sophisticated one. You guys are trying. I'm trying to get off this slide. Let me get this one. Sports talk. That do you want GST to return in 2026 or 2027? Do you watch or support Atlas? I will watch and support the Atlas stuff because it's interesting. That guy has a lot more money, so I'm hoping it's successful. We'll see. I think they're gonna try some stuff. Do I want GST to return? Let me categorically state this because I've been probably lumped into a Grand Slam track hater. I was never a hater. I was just, concerned about how operations was going, and given some of the stuff that I know and some of the things, the spaces that I interact with, to understand, like, yeah, I'm not saying I know, but like I know people in the business of sport and all that stuff. I just was concerned the way they would have structured this. I want something to work. I have, I had issues with the structure from the start, and I knew it was going to be problematic then, and it panned out the way I thought. The business side is also interesting. They got to pay the people. And I don't think they will pay them. I don't think they will have the money for it. So that's unfortunate. And it's hard to sell track and field. So we'll see. We shall see. I hope it comes back because I want track and field to grow, and I support anything, But if you watch my video with Dan Kaplan, I think GST bit off more than they could chew, and they probably should have did a soft launch and not this kind of extravagant thing that they try to pull off. And if you don't get bums in seats, it's one thing, but if you can't sell television rights, it's going to be worse. And so there's a lot of rethinking that has to be done, and they don't have any money. So yeah, all in the game, wishing Atlas the best. The owner is more switched on, yeah, and he has deeper pockets too. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna call it. It's been fun hanging out with you as usual. Said I was only gonna do an hour, so hour and 43 minutes. I hope you have a rest of a good night. Check out whatever else is on the channel. We hope to be back on Friday night. I think we're trying to schedule something for the Brussels Diamond League reaction. Normally I would do a watch along, but I can't do a watch along on Friday, so we'll see you. But take care. Thanks again. Thanks for liking. I appreciate it, and thanks for subscribing, everyone. And you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.